Man, what a week of college football. I feel like it's getting crazier and crazier, which is what I wanted. Brought it up last week. So we got a lot of good games to look at. Let's start the video. So yeah, welcome back to the tailgate. Again, this was a very fun week of college football, and it sucks I didn't watch most of it. I had to work. Sorry. So if y'all watched the games and I didn't, and I make a incorrect analysis, let me know. I unfortunately didn't watch the games, but I missed a lot. It really sucks. So let's get on with it, starting with our 5 biggest winners. The first big winner to me is Washington, as they beat Utah 35-28. I kept my eye on this game, and I actually thought Utah was going to pull the upset. Their offense was playing really good. They were really taking advantage of Washington's pretty bad defense, and I actually thought they had it. And Michael Penix really wasn't playing that great. I think at one point he was 14 of 30, which ain't that great for a Heisman. But second half, completely different story. Washington really turned it around all fronts. Their defense played really good. They shut out Utah in the second half, and then they got a big touchdown from Michael Penix to Roma Odunze, and then they sealed the game with that safety on Utah's last drive. So that put the game away as Washington escapes, being 10-0. Again, their offense played great for most of the game. Michael Penix played like a Heisman. Dylan Johnson played good. Roma Odunze had 2 big touchdowns on just 3 catches. Randy Moss stat line right there. And then their defense finally showed something in the second half of that game. It's a very impressive win for them, as they're just one win away from clinching a Pac-12 championship spot. And it's exciting to see them play. And it's an impressive win for them, as they are my 5th biggest winner. The next big winner for me is UCF, as they obliterated a red-hot Oklahoma State team 45-3. Now this I did not expect. I thought Oklahoma was going to roll through the rest of their season, go 10-2, and play in the Big 12 championship game. Now this makes it a lot more interesting. UCF played a very complete game, and they shocked me. They just played good all around. Their defense played incredible. They got 3 interceptions. 1 was returned to the house. John Rice Plumlee played really good. RJ Harvey had 3 touchdowns and 200 rushing yards. Javon Baker led their team in receiving, but Kobe Hudson played really good, as he had all of UCF's receiving touchdowns. Just a very complete game for UCF, as their chances for bowl eligibility are still there. I said in my prediction that they were going to be the only Big 12 newcomer to make a bowl game, and that really looks like the best case scenario right now. Is they're 5-5, and they got to win one more game to do it. Just again a very impressive win all around for UCF, and it's just crazy. I mean, 45-3 against maybe the hottest team in college football. It's something, and as they are my 4th biggest winner. The 3rd biggest winner for me is Missouri, as they beat Tennessee 36-7. I projected Missouri to win this game, but not like this. Missouri's defense just showed up out of nowhere and obliterated Tennessee, who still had a shot to make the SEC championship game. Now, they probably weren't going to, but they still had a shot. But Missouri just killed them. I mean, that's really the best way to describe it. And talking about Missouri, the only player to really mention is Cody Schrader. First player in SEC history with 200 rushing yards and 100 receiving. He was on his A game. He played amazing, and he really helped all around, as Brady Cook played all right. He had a very efficient game, but I guess with Cody Schrader doing so much, Brady Cook could just kind of lay back, it seems like, especially with how good the defense was playing. I mean, I did not expect them to hold Tennessee to 7 points, especially with how okay Missouri's defense is. It's crazy. But with that win, Missouri keeps himself alive for a New Year's 6 spot. And if I take a look at their schedule real quick, I really don't think they play many hard teams. Yeah, they have a real shot to finish 10-2, which is very impressive for them. And just with how big that win was against Tennessee, they are my 3rd biggest winner. The next big winner for me is Michigan, as they beat Penn State 24-15. Now this game, I did watch, at least most of it. I couldn't watch the 4th quarter, but it seems like nothing really happened. Michigan just pummeled Penn State. Again, Penn State just can't beat Ohio State and Michigan. That's just it. Michigan ran the ball, I think, their last 32 plays, and they still won by 2 possessions. It is crazy. I know Penn State has a very questionable calling with going for it on some downs. They really shouldn't have gone for it. And, I mean, it's really impressive for Michigan, especially with everything that's going on with them with the sign stealing and Harbaugh getting suspended. It really is a whole mess, and to get a big win like this, they were really fired up, and it showed. Of course, Michigan's defense played amazing, and the rushing game was insane, led by Blake Corum, who had 145 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then Donovan Edwards played pretty solid on the ground. They overall had a really amazing rushing attack, and that's really Michigan's bread and butter, is their really good rushing attack. They're still undefeated, and this was a statement win to say that they might be the best team in the country. Are they? I don't know, and y'all won't know my opinion on that until tomorrow. So they are my second biggest winner, but they're not my biggest. I think y'all know who I saved for first. The biggest winner for me is Georgia, as they beat Ole Miss 52-17. Now this was Georgia's statement win. This is probably the best win of the season we've seen so far. Top 10 game, Georgia hadn't really played a great team all season, and they finally get that shot and they do this. Just what a game from Georgia. I heard that it was gonna be close, as it was 14-14 early in the first half, but then after it was 14-14, Georgia outscored them the rest of the game 38-3. So safe to say they took control after that. Overall, Georgia's defense plays amazing as always. Carson Beck had a really efficient game. Their leading rusher, Kendall Milton, had 127 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Just overall a really good game for Georgia. They made a statement, and again, do I think they're the best team in the country? Y'all see my opinion on that tomorrow. I can't answer that question. I gotta save a video for something. But just what a win from Georgia, as they clinch the SEC East, and they will play Bama in the title game. Can't wait to see that game, but that wraps up the 5 biggest winners. Now, with plenty of winners comes plenty of losers. For the fifth biggest loser, this is unfortunate, but I have to say it's Kansas. They got upsetted by Texas Tech 16-13. Now I know for Kansas they didn't have Jason Bean, as he got injured in the first half, and their backup just didn't play that great, but they really still sort of had this game, especially with how good their defense played, and they even had a good game from Devin Neal. It's really sucks for Kansas. I know a lot of people are pulling for them, and it would have been great to see them win 10 or 11 games, but with all the injuries they've had at quarterback, that's looking way more questionable. And with that loss, their chances of making the Big 12 title game are over. They still had a shot, but with that loss, it's all over for them. It really sucks, and there's really not much I can say. I didn't watch the game, and just seeing how they played, it was a pretty ugly loss for them. So they are my 5th biggest loser. For the next big loser, I have Penn State, as they lost to Michigan 24-15. This was a very embarrassing loss for Penn State. It really looked like Michigan was toying with them the whole game, especially considering that Michigan ran the ball on the last 32 plays, like I said, if I'm correct. But they basically ran the ball for basically the entire second half, and I think even some of the first half, they basically ran the ball the rest of the way. It's pretty embarrassing when Michigan only needs to throw 8 passes to win the game. And also with Penn State being at home, it was bad. James Franklin had a very questionable play calling, and again, Drew Aller just didn't show up when they needed to show up. Just nothing for Penn State's offense showed up, and this is probably gonna be the same thing they've dealt with for the last 5 years. They're gonna go 10-2, make a New Year's 6, win that, go 11-2, and the cycle continues. I imagine this sucks for Penn State fans, but they just can't win these games. I'm not like some people where they should fire James Franklin. I don't think they should. I mean, without him, they wouldn't even be in the scenario of Michigan and Ohio State versus them being top 10 matchups. But it's still just really bad that they just cannot beat these 2 good teams. They just never can. And again, it's just really bad for Penn State. And I was really hoping for some madness, as a win there could open up a 3-way tie, and they let me down. Penn State really underperformed, and they are my 4th biggest loser. The next big loser for me is Ole Miss, as they lost to Georgia 52-17. Now for Ole Miss, they just got embarrassed. Now, I can definitely cut them a little bit of slack, as they played the second best team, arguably the best team in the country, but they still shouldn't have lost like this, especially with Ole Miss always being considered a top-tier offense. They just got shut down, I guess would be the correct word to say. Same thing that happened with Bama, except this was way worse as Georgia scored 52 points on them. I know Ole Miss's defense ain't that great. It definitely improved from last year, but it still was just okay, and Georgia ran all over it. They had 611 total yards, and for Ole Miss, their offense just couldn't get anything going after the first, 16 minutes. Judkins had 2 touchdowns and then just didn't do anything else. Jackson Dart played all right, but then he didn't do anything. I heard he did get injured, and that's why he was limited, and that's probably why Ole Miss was limited, but I don't think it would have made much of a difference, even if he did play the full game. I don't know exactly when he got injured. I didn't watch the game, but if he got injured in the second half or late in the first half, it probably wouldn't have made much of a difference. Ole Miss just got embarrassed, and they can still make a New Year's Six, most definitely, but that's just a really tough loss for them, especially a game that a lot of people expected them to show out and then actually upset Georgia, and then they lose by, 35? Yeah, it's pretty bad, as they are my third biggest loser. Now, the reason I can cut Ole Miss some slack is because they were the underdog, and they were expected to lose. But the second biggest loser, not the same. The second biggest loser for me is Tennessee, as they lost to Missouri 36-7. Now, this was bad for Tennessee. Their offense just couldn't get anything going, especially their rushing attack, which is usually a pretty good part of their offense, just didn't show up. Joe Milton played all right, but then I guess they really slowed down in the second half. Again, didn't watch this game. I'm sorry. I had work. It just really sucks, but it happens. I had to work. And usually, the thing with Tennessee this year is that their defense has been better than normal, and it did not show up today. Cody Schrader ran all over that Tennessee defense, and Tennessee got pummeled. As I think with that loss, their chances of a New Year's Six are done, because I don't think they're going to beat Georgia, especially after this loss. I don't see them beating Georgia. It's just a really bad loss to Tennessee. Definitely a down year, but that's to expect. But to lose this badly when you're the favorite, I know you're on the road, but to lose this badly, it's pretty bad, as they are my second biggest loser, but they're not my biggest. I'm saving one for that. The biggest loser for me is Oklahoma State. To me, this is no surprise. They got blown out by UCF 45-3 when Oklahoma State was in second place for the Big 12. And by tiebreaker, actually, they were tied for first with Texas. But man, I don't know. Oklahoma State, just what happened to them, considering that they just beat Oklahoma 2 weeks ago. They were looking really good. Ollie Gordon looked like a dark horse Heisman, and then he just didn't show up. He had 25 rushing yards. Alan Bowman, who played really good, had 3 picks. One of them was returned to the house, and he played terrible. Oklahoma State's defense had been pretty solid, non-existent. I guess maybe they got tired with Oklahoma State just not doing anything on offense, but still. Oklahoma State had the Big 12 championship game all wrapped up. They had UCF, Houston, and BYU. They had arguably the 3 worst teams in the Big 12 to end their season off. Boom, you go 10-3, and you're playing Texas. But no, just an embarrassing loss all around. Oklahoma State was on a 5-game win streak, and then just to fall apart that badly. At least if you're gonna lose to UCF, make it close. Don't lose by 42 points when, let's see, you're only 2.5 point favorites. Okay, you still shouldn't have lost by 42, but yeah, but how bad that loss was, especially being the favorite and being ranked and losing to an unranked UCF team, they're easily my biggest loser. And with that, those are my 5 biggest losers. Now it's time for the Heismans. Looking at it, I think McCartney is out. They beat Penn State with him only throwing 8 passes. So I definitely don't think he has a chance to win the Heisman. This game kind of proved that he's not really that important. And I just think that his chances are done since he just didn't play spectacular. They did win, and he did what he needed to do, but he didn't play spectacular. He wasn't outstanding, which is what the Heisman is, the most outstanding player. So I think he's out of the conversation. For me, I think the the players that are in it are locks. I think we have our finalists locked in as of right now. To me, Penix is still the front runner. He played really good against a good Utah defense, and he won the game as Washington remains undefeated. And then after that, we have Jane Daniels, no question. I think he's gonna be the runner-up. He played out of his mind. He had 606 yards and 5 touchdowns, which was crazy. Just an impressive game all around. As to me, he's second place. Behind him is Bo Nix. Bo Nix played an amazing game against USC, which is, I mean, that was gonna happen. He's playing against a terrible defense. If you want your Heisman moment, there you go. He racked up the stats. He had 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. He played amazing. And for the last finalist, it's Marvin Harrison. He's been playing amazing these last few weeks, and I think he's really climbed back up into the Heisman leaderboard, especially with just some amazing games played recently. I think the only way he could truly have a chance to win it, though, is if he plays good against Michigan. That's really his only shot to really have a chance to win the Heisman. That's why I have him ranked 4th as the people who I think will be finalists. And just to bring it back up, my finalists are Penix at 1, Jane Daniels at 2, Bo Nix at 3, and Marvin Harrison at 4. Behind those, I have 2 quarterbacks that I think get some votes, but I don't think they'll be finalists, and that's Dylan Gabriel, who to me skyrocketed back into the conversation as he had 8 touchdowns against West Virginia, which is insane. And then Jalen Monroe, who played really good against LSU, and then he had 6 touchdowns again against Kentucky. So I think he's outside of the finalist category, but if he beats Georgia and has a great game and Bama makes the playoffs, then most definitely has a chance to win the Heisman, in my opinion. He has really been playing amazing since he got benched against South Florida, and it's just really impressive. But those are really my 6 guys for the Heisman. I really think it's really narrowed down as the season goes on, and I can't wait to see how much more it narrows down, or maybe we have someone climb out of nowhere. But that wraps up my Heismans, and that wraps up the recap. So yeah, that's the video. Really fun video. Again, it sucks I couldn't give great explanations on all the games as I had to work, but it does suck, and I do work next Saturday. So again, it sucks. I can't really give good explanations, but I'll say this, luckily next week, there aren't a lot of huge games as this is the week before rivalry week. Usually a lot of teams will schedule cupcakes before that, so there are a few good games I'm of course going to talk about in my predictions, but at least this is a week that I can, at least it's not a big week that I'm going to miss out on. I'm not going to miss rivalry week though. I'm already off for that Saturday. I already had the schedule for that, so I can't wait to see the rivalry week and how that goes. Going a little far ahead, but just bringing it up. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Like, favorite, and subscribe if you had, and I'll be back tomorrow to talk about the polls.